Hi class, we're going to start off 12.1 with problem number 2 based off of the work that you did with the talking drawings activity. You should now have a good understanding of the standard units that we use in the customary system dealing with length, weight, and capacity. To get started for today, what I would like you to do is number 1, A through F. It just asks you to choose the appropriate customary unit of measure that you would use when measuring each, and then just give an example of your reasoning. Go ahead and do that with your group members. If you take a look at letter A, the height of a building, you would probably use feet or yards to measure the height of a building. Miles would be too large and inches would be too small. For letter B, the length of your pencil, you would use inches, miles, yards, and feet would be too large to measure that. The weight of your math book, you could use ounces or pounds. Ton would definitely be too large for the weight of your math book. Letter D, the weight of an 18-wheel truck, that would be tons. Pounds and ounces would be too small for a truck. Letter E, the amount of tomato juice in a juice can, that would be fluid ounces. The other units of measure for capacity would be too large as far as cups and pints and quarts and gallons. And letter F, the amount of water that fills a bathtub, you would use gallons for that. The fluid ounces, cups, pints, and quarts would be too small, the other units of measure for capacity. Let's move on to page 773 and take a look at problem number 3, where it says it is now time to estimate. Up at the top it says a measurement has two parts, a number and a unit of measure. So for the first problem, it asks you to circle the most appropriate measure for each. Go ahead and do letter A through letter D for number 1. If we look at the weight of a dog, the appropriate measure would be 15 pounds. The amount of milk in a cereal bowl for letter B would be 1 cup. Letter C, the height of your classroom would be 12 feet. And for letter D, the length of your bed would be 6 feet. For letter E, hopefully you referred back to the talking drawings activity that you did and thought about some of the benchmarks that represented each of the different measures for length, weight, and capacity. Let's move down to number 2. It says the smallest unit of length in the customary system is the inch, but the inch is too big to measure many objects. You can use fractional parts of inches to measure lengths that are smaller than an inch. Determine the fraction of an inch between 0 and 1 that each mark represents on the ruler shown. So go ahead and do A, B, and C with your group members, a nice review on how to use a ruler for measuring. In letter A, we have 4 marks on there, so each mark would represent 1/4 of an inch. For letter B, we have 8 of them, so each mark would represent 1/8 of an inch. And for letter C, we have 16 marks, and each one of those would represent 1/16 of an inch. We are going to skip the rest of problem 4 in 774 and move on to problem 5, making changes. Now we are going to talk about converting in the customary system. Up at the top of the page it says you can use more than one measurement to describe the same length, weight, or capacity. For example, you may say that a student is 5 feet tall, or you may say that the student is 60 inches tall. You might say that a football field is 100 yards long or 300 feet long. In each case, the lengths are the same. You just say them in different ways. There are many situations in which you need to convert measurements to different units. To convert a measurement means to change it to an equivalent measurement in different units. I think that if you look at number 1, name a situation in which converting one measurement to another would be necessary or useful. The first thing that might come to everyone's head is converting from one measurement to another when you're looking at amounts of ingredients for a recipe. So that's just one way. one example we could use as far as converting goes. Take a look at the table, and here are some common measurement conversions that you will need to know for length, weight, and capacity. Notice that I added in that there are 1,760 yards in 1 mile. I think that that conversion is important to know, and I want you to add that to the table. So take a look at these and make sure that you refer back to this table if needed in order to convert as we move forward in problem 5. Here are some steps that I would like you to follow in order to help you convert from one measurement to another. If you take a look at number 1, the very first thing that you want to do is ask yourself if you're going from a large to a small unit of measure or a small to a large unit of measure. In the example that I'm having you look at first, we are going with 5 gallons, and we are trying to figure out how many quarts are in 5 gallons. If you look at your table, you can see that gallons is going to be the larger measure. There are 4 quarts in 1 gallon, so you know then that you are going to be multiplying then 5 times 4. That's kind of step 2. Go to your chart. How many? Look at your conversions. There are 4 quarts in 1 gallon, and then all you have to worry about doing is carrying out the math. 5 times 4 is going to give you 20 quarts then for your answer. Let's look at another example. 120 inches is equal to how many feet? Again, following the steps. Step 1, is this large to small, or is this small to large? In this case, we should know that inches is the smallest measure when dealing with length, so we know that we are going from small to large. So when we carry out the math, we are going to have to divide. If we look at step 2, let's refer to the chart, and this time we're looking at the conversion that there are 12 inches in 1 foot. So as far as carrying out the math, we are going to go 120 divided by 12, and our answer then would be 10 feet. So keeping these steps in mind, what I would like you to do now is turn to page 778, and I would like you to answer number 3 through number 6. Go ahead and answer those questions with your group members, and we will go over them together. Make sure that you follow your steps as far as converting from one unit of measure to the other. If you take a look at number 3, it asks how many pounds are in 2 tons. If you refer to your steps, again, is this large to small, or is this small to large? Tons are the largest measure when dealing with weight, so we should know that we are going large to small. Then you have to ask yourself how many pounds are in a ton. That would be 2,000, so refer back to your chart for that. So 2 times 2,000 is going to give you 4,000. You would be doing the same exact thing to figure out how many pounds are in 3 tons. 2,000 pounds are in 1 ton, so 3 times 2,000 is going to give you 6,000. So 6,000 pounds in 3 tons. If we are trying to figure out how many pounds are in half of a ton, we would be multiplying 1/2 times 2,000 to get 1,000 for our answer. And finally, if we were trying to figure out how many pounds are in 1/4 of a ton, we would be multiplying 1/4 times 2,000 to get 500 pounds for our answer. If you take a look at number 4, they're asking how many miles are in 31,680 feet. This time you are going from a smaller unit of measure to a larger unit of measure, so now you have to divide. There are 5,280 feet in 1 mile, so if you divide 31,680 by 5,280, you are going to get 6 miles for your answer. How many miles in 52,800 feet? That should be some pretty easy math. We're going to be dividing by 5,280 in order to get 10 miles for our answer. And finally, how many miles in 6,483.84 feet? If you divided by 5,280, you would end up with 1.228 miles. If you take a look at number 5, it asks, or it says a giraffe is 18 feet tall, then it asks how tall the giraffe is in inches and give an explanation. So again, 18 feet is going to be equal to how many inches? If you walk through your steps again, the very first thing that you ask is large to small or small to large. This is large to small. Feet are larger than inches. Now, how many? Go back to your conversion chart. There are 12 inches in 1 foot, so 18 times 12 is going to give you 216 inches. And finally, number 6, a giraffe is 174 inches tall. How tall is the giraffe in feet? And again, make sure that you show your work. We are going from a small unit of measure to a larger, just the exact opposite of what we did in number 5. Now we're going inches to feet, so we should know that we have to divide. There are 12 inches in a foot, so when you divide 174 divided by 12, you're going to get 14.5 feet for your answer. We will skip the rest of problem 5 at the top of page 779. Take a look at problem number 6, converting across customary units of measure. This is what I would like you to do for homework tonight. 1 through 5, 1 through 6, you're converting each measurement, and for 7 through 10, you're using greater than, less than, or equal to complete each statement. Now, take a look carefully at what some of the conversions are asking you to do. You might have to skip across the different customary units of measure, so make sure you look at those carefully when you're doing this for homework. Let me know if you have any questions regarding customary units of measure. Thanks.